Peace, welcome back to another transmission, and I hope y'all been taking care of yourselves. I'm on day 10 of my fruit fast, and I'm grateful to be able to experience this. I'm grateful to be able to overcome my urges. I'm grateful to just be able to have clarity within what I understand isn't real to itself within reality. This video is going to be about how worshiping a god or a goddess, so any religion, if you want to talk about paganism, Wicca, and just all that, it creates gateways of thoughts, Stargate portals to human trafficking and a silent consent towards it. Now, I'm going to be breaking it down within my mind about why I am speaking this. What would you want to say? Just speaking my truth through a perspective. Right, I'm going to be getting into that. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about parasocial relationships. Parasocial relationships creates a mental barrier between logic and reasoning, and instead you're putting this individual or celestial body or entity, being, whatever the case may be, on a pedestal. And so this is what I wrote down. You think you know this being from what you're told and programmed into, creating a detachment of common sense and reasoning through not trusting yourself first. They're put it on a pedestal. So, within the Bible, for example, or within any monotheistic religion, or religion in itself, multiple gods and goddesses. This is what we're talking about, right? This is what we're talking about. You will be biased to the being, such as God within the Bible. You will be biased towards God, Him. We're giving pronouns to gods and goddesses. Right? That doesn't make sense, first of all. It doesn't make sense. But we're giving pronouns, excuse me. We are essentially looking past what wouldn't make sense with common sense, such as, why does God get emotional? If you have had an out-of-body experience, or if you have had a near-death experience, and you go into the void of consciousness, the void is essentially what God would never speak of. The void is essentially what, how would you word that? I'm not sure how to word that, but if you've had those experiences, you understand. And you can make the correlation to everything being one. And with common sense, how does a man-made God, a reflection of your ego, how is that God, when God would never call itself God? And if God did call itself God, that's a God complex. And on top of that too, if God did call itself God, why would you trust that when they're speaking sorcery to you? I can say something to you and lie to you, or give you hidden meanings, or give you half-truths. And if you're silently consenting to that, well, you fell for it, right? You were given the layout within spelling. You were given the layout within this spellcasting acts. You're given a phone. You're given endless amounts of information that occultists will use back towards you and manipulate your mind. Not only your mind, but your ego. But it starts with the mind. Okay, so next I have, it inverts consciousness inside out to forget the God who never named itself by trafficking your mindset and your minds into things that never mattered. So when you step outside the body, you will finally understand, or when you're on your deathbed, you will finally understand that deathbed, quote unquote, that the things that you put your awareness into never mattered. And the scary thing is, for a lot of people, they don't realize this until it's too late. I'm grateful that my higher self put myself onto this track. And I allowed myself to not be afraid of chapters closing and new chapters coming in. I'm grateful that I've been shown, and just intuitively I understand that everything is temporary, whatever that may be. Everything is temporary. So me holding on to a relationship that doesn't serve my highest purpose, that doesn't make sense, because now we're just being stagnant within our acceptance of suffering for the sake of family or for the sake of tradition, right? These things don't align with you. So why would you continue to do this? Now, having this inverted mindset leads to perversion, leads to rape, leads to getting yourself in jail or prison, leads to you harming others because you don't know yourself. And when you don't know yourself, you're easily manipulated, manipulatable. Not only through black mirrors, but through emotions as well. If you don't know yourself, you're not going to be able to control your emotions. You're not going to be able to flow within thoughts because you don't even understand your own, and what thoughts are yours and what thoughts are not yours. So that's where I lead to human trafficking, because I mean, these sadly, as it sounds, human trafficking has been going on since the beginning of times, and since before the creation of time. Time is just a man-made concept. When you realize that time is just a man-made concept, that's when, at least for myself, that's when I understood that my ego knew absolutely nothing. Because if America, the USA, first of all, it's not even a country, it's a business. If if USA is not the prime example, but I guess it is basically, first of all, I'll put it like this. The USA is, how do you say that? The USA is ancient Rome today. It's still the same thing. It's still the same thing. When you see like how, what's it called? The three city states, which would be, I know there's one in London, there's one in Washington, D.C., and the last one is Israel. I may be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But when you look into that, that's when connections start forming, to where you see why within Hollywood, not only Hollywood, but politics, somebody is correlated to a Jew, a fake Jew at that. Because if you look within the Hebrew Bible, you understand that Jews are carbon melanated beings, but you have to also transcend beyond that too, because to be so fixated on skin color, that will bound your nervous system and your brain to what you don't want to come back to, the physical. But getting back to my point, USA would basically be Babylon within biblical time periods. It's the same thing. It is. And why I say that is because with the recent release of the Epstein files, and the Epstein files, there is no such thing as, there is no such thing as Epstein. There is no such thing as Jay-Z and things like that. These are just titles. These are just titles that are puppets to a frequency. You can put it like that, right? I'm not Justin. I play the role of Justin, but you wouldn't know that I'm Justin unless I'm Justin. You would only know my frequency or my energy, right? So within Babylon, if you know, you know. If you've done your research, if you read into it, but you know that they do human sacrifices, human trafficking is going on, throwing babies into groundworks of buildings, and I mean sacrificing to, what was their god? Molech? Marduk? Sacrificing children to Marduk. And it doesn't matter, Canaanites. You can literally name any any country at that, and it's a correlation to Babylon. It's a correlation to, it's a correlation to Babylon because at the end of the day, it's human nature. And to get into these higher positions, quote unquote, within this, I don't even want to call it Illuminati period scheme, but within our ego's pyramid scheme, to get higher into that, you have to base your awareness into your ego. And doing that puts you into more animalistic instincts. And with that, that's where you'll be introduced into satanic rituals. Satanism is just the celebration and the worship of the root chakra. Because Satan is your ego. And with that being said, if you look into, if you look into organ harvesting, organs go for so much money. It's insane. When you go into the black market, I never been on black market, but I mean, just from stories, talk about stories. So, you know, you hear of stories of people waking up in bathtubs with missing organs, with a kidney missing, or whatever the case. When you also get into surrogate mothers, you could have a business or a corporation send in some semen or request a baby. And I mean, your ego is a corporation. So at that, you could do this too. You could request a baby. You could request to have a baby from a in-between mother. And now you adopt some kid. CPS was involved with the Epstein files. And I mean, that's sick. First of all, that's sick. That's hella sick. It's disgusting. But I lost my thought. Anyways, these things have been going on since the beginning of time. You get into Mesoamerica and the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Greeks, the Romans. I mean, any time period you go into, there's sacrifice. Biblical time periods, for example. Why does God need to sacrifice himself within a physical form so beings can worship him through the flesh and blood? That's a whole satanic ritual in itself. Even so, the argument will be like, oh, it's just a metaphor. Metaphorically speaking, what's a good example? I should have thought about this before. But even so, you're still performing the ritual of cannibalism. You still are. You don't have to eat actual flesh and blood. You're drinking and eating things that are a metaphorical spell, which is not a metaphor. Oh my gosh, it's not a metaphorical spell because you're metaphorically eating his flesh and blood. That's a spell. That's magic. That's magic. That's witchcraft. At the end of the day, it is. And I don't see witchcraft as a bad thing. I don't see things bad or good. It's just your intention behind it. And your intention behind eating bread and wine is eating flesh and blood to worship your Savior, which never saved you, only saved you out of your divination into your damnation. But I'm gonna be getting into the days of the week and just the gods behind that, because people don't realize that through acceptance of suffering and silence, you're only allowing things to continue. And that was in the title, obviously, but Monday is about the moon, so that could be correlated to any moon god. We're worshiping Monday, which is a satellite up in the sky that records your thoughts through telephones, through TVs, through shit, probably even cars and birds, and that's all I can think of right now. But you know what I'm saying? Tuesday is for Mars, and these are celestial bodies, so entities based off of the Roman god of war, or Tui, which is a Germanic god from Germanic mythology. But going into Wednesday, Mercury, it's based off of Odin from Norse mythology. Thursday is based off of Jupiter, which is the Roman god of the sky and weather, which is Thor, which is another Norse god. Friday, Venus, the Roman god of love and beauty, or correlated to Frigga from Norse mythology. Saturday, Saturn worship, Kronos, the god of sun. Sunday, any sun god, worshiping the sun. The sun, it does create life, right? Life within this simulation. But the sun could also be a portal. And beyond that too, we don't actually know what the sun is, because, I mean, unless you astral view, then you can speak on that. But what is the sun when the sun will not call itself sun? I feel like the sun is just our outward perspective of our higher self, if you want to put it that way. Getting into Greek mythology, and I'm gonna butcher some of these names because I didn't listen to how they were pronounced. I never really got into Greek mythology. But Atreus? Oh my gosh. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hold on. So you have Artemis, the god of childbirth. Oh my gosh. The god of childbirth and the harvest. Killed 14 kids with her brother Apollo because Niobe, which was the queen of Thebes, which was immortal, mocked their mother, which was the mother. Actually, it doesn't matter, right? You can research this yourself. Mocked their mother for having less children. So if you get offended from somebody calling you, oh my god, I'll be right back. I had to pause it real quick, but I'm getting back into the message now. So within Greek mythology, Atreus feeding his brother Thyestes his sons at dinner. If you're a god, why are you trying to get revenge for, just things that don't matter? Next, we have Therese locked Oh my gosh, Philomia in a guarded hut and raped her repeatedly. Later, she escapes with the help of her sister, Terry's sister. Or, yeah, not Terry's sister, but Philome's sister, who is Terry's wife. When found out, she killed her son. So I don't know if it was their son, but she killed her son to feed it to her husband. So I'm assuming it was their son. But why would you need to kill your son to prove a point to your husband for cheating? That's crazy. That's a god. Or maybe it's a titan. But still, Kronos eating his kids so they don't backstab him. And I think that's crazy too, because there's paintings of Kronos stealing kids. Stealing kids. Eating kids. So, where do these thought forms come from? If gods and goddesses, no matter what religion, no matter what mythology, gods and goddesses come from a human's mindset. You can't deny that. So, which human out here is doing these things? And it was very prevalent in those time periods. You would have kids getting picked up and stolen right in the middle of the blue. And people would just accept it. Kind of like now how people just record fights or record things going on. It's like, oh man, just another day. You know what I'm saying? That's sad. Silent consent. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's really all I got for this video. I didn't get too deep into it either. There was a god or a goddess that helps kids maneuver through underground tunnels, which I thought was crazy, because what underground tunnels do you got within these time periods? I just don't understand them. But that's all I got for this video, for this message. It's a short one. It's not really short, but short within what I had to share. I just hope I opened your mind up. I hope I gave you more of an understanding into your own truth through my perspective. And do your research on this stuff, and you'll really find some interesting things. I'm gone.